Money has a way of surprising us. For years, your income feels like the center of your financial world. Your job, your paycheck, the number on that deposit line at the end of each month. Everything you plan depends on it. Everything you worry about circles around it. But there comes a moment, for some people, when something quietly shifts. A moment when the money you invested starts to grow faster than the money you earn. And that single shift can change your entire relationship with work, with time, and with your financial future. My name is Mike, and on this channel I share calm, practical guidance to help you make clear financial decisions without pressure or hype. If you enjoy thoughtful conversations about money explained in a simple, steady way, you can gently support the channel by liking this video and subscribing so you don't miss future guides. That moment, when your investments outgrow your salary, is not about luck or extraordinary skill. It usually comes from years of small, consistent steps that eventually build into something meaningful. And when it happens, it doesn't just change numbers on a screen. It changes how you think. Today, I want to walk you through what truly shifts, why it matters, and how you can move toward that moment even if you feel far from it today. Why this financial problem happens. For most of our lives, income feels like the only engine that drives financial progress. We grow up learning that if we want more stability, we work harder. If we want something new, we earn more. Everything is tied to effort. But this mindset has a hidden problem. It can trap you in a cycle where progress slows or feels fragile. Your job becomes the only source of movement. If income rises, you feel hopeful. If it stalls, you feel stuck. And because most people don't invest early or don't invest consistently, they never experience how money can grow quietly in the background without their constant effort. The problem isn't that people are bad with money. It's that the natural connection between income and progress is so strong that it's hard to imagine anything else. Until the day your investments begin to grow faster than your salary. Then, everything starts to open up. First, build a simple, steady investment habit. You don't need complexity, you need consistency. Choose something broad and reliable, like a diversified fund, and contribute to it regularly, even when the amount feels small. Second, focus on raising your savings rate instead of chasing higher income alone. When you increase the gap between what you earn and what you spend, you build the fuel that makes investment growth possible. Third, avoid interrupting your investments. Many people build momentum and then pause or withdraw during moments of fear. Try to let your investments sit undisturbed, because time, not timing, is what creates the turning point where growth accelerates. Fourth, track your progress once a year, not every week. Watching investments daily creates stress. Watching them annually reveals patterns. You begin to see the slow upward curve forming beneath your efforts. Finally, learn to view investing as a quiet partnership with your future self. Your job contributes today. Your investments contribute tomorrow. The goal is not to replace work immediately, but to gradually shift the balance of your financial life. Real-life example. Let's imagine Saver Mike. Saver Mike is disciplined, careful, and always focused on keeping money safe. For years, he saved aggressively, but avoided investing because the idea felt risky. He preferred the comfort of watching his bank balance stay still rather than imagining it move unpredictably. But over time, Saver Mike realized that his savings, while stable, weren't growing. Inflation was slowly eroding the real value. So he finally created a simple plan. He invested a small, fixed amount into a broad index fund every month. Nothing complicated, nothing stressful. For the first few years, the growth was modest. His salary still felt like the main source of progress. But as time passed, the investment curve began to rise. One year, he reviewed his numbers and realized the growth from his investments had exceeded the amount he earned from a whole month of work. A few years later, the investment growth surpassed several months of his salary. And then came the turning point. In a single year, his investments grew more than the total income he earned from his job. Saver Mike hadn't changed who he was. He didn't become a high-risk investor or chase complex strategies. He simply allowed time and consistency to work. And once the balance tipped, the entire direction of his financial life felt different. Common mistakes. A common mistake is assuming that your job will always be the primary driver of your financial future. This belief makes people delay investing because they believe progress must be earned rather than accumulated. Another mistake is chasing high-risk strategies too early in hopes of speeding up the process. Growing your investments faster than your salary rarely comes from aggressive bets. It comes from patient compounding. A third mistake is constantly switching investments. Every change resets your timeline. The moment your investments begin to accelerate often arrives after years of apparent stillness. Interrupting the process prevents that breakthrough from ever appearing. A final mistake is comparing your progress to others. Everyone starts at different ages, with different income levels and different responsibilities. The goal is not to match someone else's timeline. It's to stay steady on your own. Simple action plan. Here's a calm, realistic approach you can start today. First, choose one simple investment vehicle you truly understand. Something broad, long-term, and low stress. Second, automate a monthly contribution. Even a small amount builds the habit. Third, set a savings goal based on percentage, not emotion. For example, aim for 10% and gradually increase it to 15% or 20% over a few years. Fourth, review your budget once per quarter to keep spending balanced without creating pressure. Fifth, leave your investments untouched unless you genuinely need the money for essentials. These steps may feel ordinary, but that's exactly what makes them powerful. Progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from quiet, repeating movements that compound over years. Long-term mindset shift. The moment your investments outgrow your salary changes more than your bank balance. It changes your relationship with work. You begin to realize that your job is no longer the only engine of progress. It becomes one of several. That awareness softens financial anxiety. It gives you room to breathe. It reminds you that time is working with you, not against you. You also start to think differently about risk. Not in a reckless way, but in a grounded way. You recognize that avoiding all risk carries a cost. Just like taking too much, you learn to look at money as a system, not a reaction. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to feel a quiet sense of control. Not because you can predict everything, but because you've built something that grows independently of your effort. Your future doesn't feel distant or uncertain anymore. It feels like a place you're actively preparing for, one steady month at a time. Calm closing insight. When your investments finally grow faster than your salary, life doesn't change overnight, but your sense of direction does. You begin to understand that wealth is less about working harder and more about allowing your money to work alongside you. And that awareness alone can transform your financial path in a gentle, lasting way. If this video was helpful and answered your questions, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe for more calm, practical guides just like this.